Only one other person that has interviewed me was really interested in the work I found on psychedelics. Here's what you need to know. It starts to give you access to more neuronal power in your brain. It brings down what is called the default mode network, and you get the opportunity to see yourself in a very clear picture. Before we even had a conversation about HRT, I was like, why doesn't everybody microdose psilocybin?
But now, Dr. Mindy, I am so delighted to welcome you and your energy to Menopausitive. 3 years ago, I heard that you were going to call this book Microdosing Menopause.
Fun. Wait, oh my gosh, not very many people know this.
I did my homework. And I
love
also
this.
know that you practice what you preach. So,
Yep.
so
I love it.
what are your views on things like, I don't know, holotropic breathing, psychedelics, MDMA, to support women through the menopause
Yeah.
transition?
I love this question, and only one other person that has interviewed me, Pilar Guzman of Oprah Daily, was really interested in the work I found on psychedelics. And so here's what you need to know. There is a serotonin receptor site in your brain called the 5-HT2A serotonin receptor. There's like 12 different receptors for serotonin, but this particular receptor was stimulated by estrogen. So when estrogen went away, serotonin goes down because that receptor is not being stimulated. But we have other ways to stimulate this receptor, and one of the most common ways is psilocybin. Psilocybin, which is mushrooms, goes right into that same receptor site that estrogen went into and will elevate your serotonin levels. So before we even had a conversation about HRT, this is when I was like, why doesn't everybody microdose psilocybin? If you microdose psilocybin, you're not walking around tripped out. Anybody who's done it will tell you just feel happy because it goes right into that serotonin receptor site. So you're replacing one molecule with another molecule that's natural. So I still believe if you have not tried microdosing, I know the laws are weird all over the place, but microdosing psilocybin with the help of somebody who knows what they're doing can be an incredible mood lift. The second one I wanted to bring forward was MDMA. And if you're not familiar with the research on MDMA, therapy-assisted MDMA for PTSD, like major trauma of vets and people who've been through massive trauma, is incredibly impressive. Because what happens to the trauma brain is the trauma brain, and this happens to the menopausal brain too, it gets in these looping thoughts and we start becoming hypervigilant. And we're like, okay, if this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. And if this happens, then this is going to happen. And we go into like a hypervigilant brain. That's the only way I know how to say that. What MDMA does is it stops that loop. It brings down what is called the default mode network, and you get the opportunity to see yourself in a very clear picture. I'll use myself as an example. I have done several journeys, and with both psilocybin and MDMA. And I started to understand that a lot of the messaging in my brain came from my father, and it was very critical messaging. And I took it on as my own voice. And I started criticizing myself in many different areas of my life. And when I went into my first MDMA journey, I realized that it was my relationship with my dad as a young child that put that voice there. And it wasn't the voice I wanted to choose, it was his opinion of me. And we all have experiences like that. We all have voices in our head that we didn't choose to put there, and now they're there talking to us all day long. I think if you are with, and I really believe that it needs to be with a therapist that guides you through these experiences, because you will see yourself in the most beautiful way. You will have compassion for yourself. This has been a very pivotal tool for me to find my authentic voice because I had to stop the voice of all the other people that conditioned the way that I thought.
Oh my
I had
God. It sounds so powerful. And I mean,
so powerful.
but it also sounds like that integration part, like you said, doing it with a therapist,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
one thing for all that stuff to come up, and then it's another
Yep.
to go, now what do I do with all this
That's it.
stuff?
That's it. One of my closest friends went into an MDMA journey about 6 months ago, and what I told her as she was going in is I said, "I really hope you see yourself the way we all see you." Because I have sat with her on so many ladies' nights out, and I've been like, "You're so generous. You have such a big heart. You're so creative." And she literally couldn't see that. And when she went into this journey, she came out and she said, "Thank you. I totally saw that."
Oh my
So
gosh.
we were blinded. This all goes all the way back to Carol Gilligan's work. Our brains have been conditioned by a culture, and that culture didn't always have our best interests in mind. And between the brain rewiring that's going on, and we can actually take that rewirement and come back to our authentic voice. We can come back to who we were before the world told us who we shouldn't be.
It sounds like it could be a really powerful tool as you're figuring out who you are going to be, like who
Yeah,
you're becoming in this next phase. I have to ask because a lot of women, they stop drinking alcohol during menopause
yeah,
as well because you can't handle the alcohol as well. But
yeah.
they're starting to quite like some friends are talking about, oh well, maybe I'll start doing some chocolate mushrooms. Um,
Yes.
okay, good. We got a yes, everybody, from
Yeah,
Dr.
I mean,
Mindy.
like
Approved.
I can't tell you how many times like I've sat. I'll tell you one of the most profound things I've done with chocolate mushrooms is sit with my husband and actually talk about how our brains work. And because what you have to realize is still go see the movie Fantastic Fungi because you can see visually that what mushrooms do is they start to integrate into all kinds of parts. I mean, they show it from the lens of a forest, like a mushroom can regenerate dead wood and can regenerate a forest. But the mushrooms do the same thing in our brain. It starts to give you access to more neuronal power in your brain. And so I'll never forget this one night, my husband and I sat there and I said, my brain works like this. I like to see the big picture. And if I can see the big picture, then I can understand what the next step is. And he said, I don't see it that way. My brain goes really into detail and I need all the detail before I can move forward. And all of a sudden, I realized that every fight we had as a couple was when I went big picture and he went detail. And we did that on a Saturday night, just with some chocolate mushrooms, having a really cool conversation that brought us closer together. We wouldn't have had that with alcohol.
Dr. Mindy Pelz, thank you so much for bringing like your energy and all your
Thank you.
time and being part of the menopausitive community. I have learned so much today. And if you're listening and feel called to share your journey with us or your favorite bits from today, please rate and review this episode and join the conversation on Instagram at menopausitive.life. It really does make a big difference. See you next time.
I got a good feeling.